kick us off here. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kelsey Richhart, and I serve as the Associate Director for Workforce Innovation at the Manufacturing Institute. Welcome to our September Solution Series event. These are designed to bring together manufacturers to share best practices, talk about challenges, and ultimately share insights with what's going on in our sector. And so we are thrilled to have you with us here today. But before we begin and I introduce my colleague and our panelists, I'd like to tell you just a little bit about the Manufacturing Institute. The MI is the Workforce Development and Education affiliate to the National Association of Manufacturers, and together we are dedicated to building and strengthening the workforce of today and tomorrow. And so to support our manufacturers, our scope of programming includes four main pillars. First, Heroes Make America. This team connects transitioning military members, veterans, and their families to careers in manufacturing. This team offers certifications, career readiness, and is really helping them transition into the civilian workforce. Second, we have Step Ahead. This team helps to strengthen the modern manufacturing workforce by supporting and empowering workers at all career levels. This team is ensuring employees have the resources and recognition for opportunities to learn and thrive in these careers. Step Ahead is also working to make sure the next generation looks to pursue manufacturing in their career choices. FAME. FAME is the Federation for Advanced Manufacturing Education. This is an employer-driven work and learn apprenticeship style model that trains students to become advanced maintenance technicians. This is growth that happens between key professional behaviors, soft skills, and manufacturing core exercises. And we're going to talk about FAME just a little bit later on in our hour. And then finally, workforce innovation, my team. So our portfolio of innovative solutions helps our manufacturers through things like second chance hiring, navigating workforce policy, really helping employer-led community workforce development strategies, and of course, student engagement. And shout out because Manufacturing Day is just right around the corner. So I have a couple of Zoom housekeeping tips as we get started. Just for everyone on the call, this event is being recorded and the link will be shared with all registrants in the coming days. All participants' microphones have been muted upon entering the Zoom chat here today. We also encourage you to use Speaker View, which is located at the top right of your Zoom account here, and that will allow you for the best viewing during our discussions today. And then lastly, and of course, there is a chat feature, and that can be accessed at the bottom of your screen. And we would love for you to engage with us throughout the hour using the chat feature. Okay, let's talk about why we are here today. So the basis of our discussion is really going to be centered around upskilling internal talent. And of course, in today's labor market, finding skilled workers in those external capacities is increasingly difficult and costly. And so that's why 78% of manufacturers are considering upskilling essential for future growth. I'm so excited that we have representatives from Logan Aluminum and Toyotetsu to shed some real insight on these percentages today and our sector here. But first, to help us set the stage, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Jordan Meringue, Director of Workforce Innovation and Policy. And Jordan is going to help us dive into the business case for upskilling. Jordan?
Thank you, Kelsey. As Kelsey said, we have the experts here in the room. Stephen and Leslie will go into the benefits they've seen from upskilling in their own company, but just wanted to kind of provide an economy-wide view of upskilling. World Economic Forum this year in 2025, I'd venture to guess that this percentage might be a little bit higher since they published this, but estimated that 39% of core job skills will shift in some way by 2030. Manufacturers have roles, frontline technicians, of course, the production employees, but also have roles in a variety of other places as well, finance, legal, HR, and upskilling is going to be needed in all of these roles. Job skills are going to be changing, And employers need to find a way to fill that gap in between the current skills that folks have and the skills that they will need as the demand changes. Next, the $48 billion annually, the disengagement costs of employees seen across the global economy. We know from the quiet quitting era of a few years ago, as well as kind of the great resignation, that there was quite a lot of disengagement following the end of the pandemic and kind of this return to work. Harvard has done some studies and reported out that lack of growth opportunity is really an area that drives disengagement. And upskilling is a direct investment in your employees and shows the growth opportunity available to your employees. So an emphasis here on, there are real dollar impacts to a lack of growth of opportunities, and upskilling directly speaks to that and can be an antidote to that. Again, Leslie and Stephen will go into the benefits they've seen. I just want to quickly talk right here about the lower turnover. Our economists at the NAM and MI sent us something just this morning that turnover in manufacturing is happening at an increasingly low rate. Folks are leaving their jobs in fewer numbers, and kind of the churn in the workforce is happening more slowly. And if the churn is happening more slowly, then you need to find some way to fill that talent, that skill gap that the World Economic Forum is projecting. And upskilling is the direct response to that. Of course, there are benefits as well. Recruitment costs, if you're growing as a company and you can upskill and fill that role from within, we know that those recruitment costs will be lower than finding someone elsewhere. Institutional knowledge, building institutional knowledge as you grow as a person within the company only benefits the company. And then the last thing I want to highlight before we turn it over is this last bullet, the entry-level roles for new talent. We at the MI and across workforce development talk about talent pipelines. And if there is kind of a stagnant roles that folks are getting stuck in those entry-level roles and not upskilling into higher level roles, you're not going to have new entry-level roles coming online for your talent pipeline to fill. So how useful is that talent pipeline? And we know the benefits from new folks coming in, bringing new ideas, new perspectives into your workforces. So as an economy, I think the focus on upskilling is certainly calcifying as our workforce and economics shift over the next few years. And I'm really excited to hear from Leslie and Stephen to hear the benefits they've seen from the upskilling that they've been doing over the past dozens of years in Stephen's case. So Kelsey, I'll pass it over to you and we can get into the conversation.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jordan. Jordan will be hanging out in the chat if you'd like to ask any questions or engage throughout the hour. And thank you so much for your perspective. Okay, I am so excited and pleased to introduce our two panelists who are really going to bring this real world conversation to life here. So first we have Leslie Cantu, Vice President of Administration at Toyotetsu, Texas in San Antonio. Leslie, welcome. And can you tell us a little bit about your role, what your facility produces, and how long you've been with Toyotetsu?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Kelsey, for that warm welcome. So excited to be here. In my role as Vice President of Administration, I have responsibility over HR, environmental health, safety and security, accounting, workforce development initiatives, and community engagement. And I'm proud to be a team member here at Toyotetsu, Texas. We are a global supplier for stamped and welded parts in the automotive manufacturing industry. Specifically here in Texas, our primary customer is Toyota, Texas. We have the opportunity to provide our customer with stamped and welded parts that create the cab structure, undercarriage, and engine compartments of both the Tundra and Sequoia vehicles. And fun fact, we are the only plant in the world that makes the Tundra and Sequoia. So if you see them driving around when you're out on the road, just know that that came from right here in San Antonio. So excited to be part of the conversation today and share experiences that I've had in the manufacturing industry over the last 20 years. Out of those 20 years, 9 of them have been with Toyotetsu. And we're happy to share our experience and hopefully support other manufacturers.
Thank you, Leslie. All right, next we're joined by Stephen Cross, Utilities and Reliability Leader at Logan Aluminum in Russellville, Kentucky. Stephen, I'd love for you to share more about your role at Logan Aluminum, what you produce at your facility, and how long you've been there.
Yeah, again, I'm Stephen Cross at Logan Aluminum. I am I lead the reliability and maintenance team for our plant utilities department. And I also am the leader of our Incumbent program, which we call our GTT program, which is our maintenance trainee program. Actually, and we were talking about it earlier, Logan has actually we've actually had an Incumbent program, which again, a maintenance trainee program for about 35 years. So to Jordan's point, Logan's been engaged with a program like this for decades. Logan Aluminum, we are the producer of rolled aluminum products and primarily for the can industry, the aluminum beverage industry. And also, fun fact is to when you open up a 6-pack of aluminum cans, no matter what your beverage of choice is, anywhere in North America, 3 of those cans the metal would have came out of our facility. So about 50% of the market share in North America. But also a little bit of that share also in the automotive industry. So we run inners and outer aluminum parts for automotive.
Awesome. Thank you so much. There are so many things that make Leslie and Stephen's perspectives especially valuable. But one that is my favorite to share is that Leslie and Stephen serve as their current FAME chapter presidents. And again, FAME is the Federation for Advanced Manufacturing Education. So in a sense, Leslie and Stephen are leading specific cohorts of manufacturers that are allowing students to go to work and to go to school at the same time to become maintenance technicians. And I bring this to light because this is something that Leslie and Stephen work towards every single day, using their incumbent employees in this program. So you may hear our guests talk about FAME throughout the discussion, and we will really get into speaking about FAME toward the end. But I just wanted to make sure I set that stage there. So now that we've introduced our panelists, we've gotten some workforce policy information from Jordan, I really want to hear from you, our audience. And so what's going to happen is there's going to be a poll that comes up on your screen here in just a second. And the question is, when a key role opens up at your facility, what's your team's first instinct? And if you wouldn't mind to answer that question here for us. I love seeing the results come in real time here. All right. A lot of our guests on the call are going to post the job and start recruiting externally, but also look internally for someone ready to grow. That looks like it's going to be the lead winner here, which brings us to a really great opportunity as we dive in with Leslie and Stephen. I know that both of you, in several instances, you've looked at external hiring and internal upscaling as well. But I really want to start with Leslie. What is your business case for looking at upskilling as a top priority?
Yeah, great question. As Jordan was talking about earlier, with turnover being lower in our industry and needing to make sure that we're able to fill those critical positions that we have within our companies, upskilling incumbent workers is definitely been a very successful model that we have been able to use. For us, we've seen when we can upskill our current workforce and provide them opportunities to grow within our organization, we're in turn opening up those entry-level positions and creating more opportunities for individuals that are looking for work. So I know earlier, Kelsey, you had mentioned about the pillars of the MI and different initiatives, and you talked about second chance. That's one example. When we upskill incumbents, we open up entry-level positions and then can work with populations like second chance individuals that are looking for work in today's labor market. So for us, we find that upskilling our incumbents and providing those opportunities internally, creating opportunities also for external candidates that are applying, really is a powerful retention tool. We've seen that, even though turnover is reducing in our industry, Toyotetsu, Texas tends to have a lower turnover rate than others in our region. And we feel that part of that is because of our incumbent upskilling model and mindset. So we have seen that when you invest in your employees and provide them that opportunity, and they know there's a chance for growth and development, and they feel valued, they can see a future with the company. And that's the type of culture and environment that we want to create through our incumbent upskilling programs.
Yeah, Stephen, what's your business case?
Yeah, and Leslie, well said. But what we see, especially from a maintenance standpoint, we see the upskilling of incumbent workers. Really, it's the biggest and best bang for your buck. Specifically around, if you take somebody who's already in an operational role, they already have been in your company for 1 to 4 or 5 years. That's typically what we see. They already know the culture of your facility. They already know how the plant is laid out. They already know the equipment. They know the processes. So when you take those people who have already kind of proven themselves to be good employees, we go through a pretty strict vetting process in order to select these individuals. Once we select them, what we see is that they make some of the, and really, I mean, you want to make sure that they have the aptitude to do the maintenance job. But once we see that they have the aptitude, they already know the culture, they already know the process, they make some of the best maintenance people that we can hire.
Right. Really investing in your people is one of the best ROIs. Leslie, can you talk to us about what you've seen in terms of retention when you invest in these incumbent pipelines?
Yeah, absolutely. We see year over year a reduction in turnover, and a lot of that goes to the culture that's created when you are a type of company that's investing in your employees, training them for new opportunities, helping them grow personally and professionally, and so you see that. The loyalty that you're showing to your employees, they in turn are showing that through hard work, dedication, and retention. And it's definitely a positive and a benefit to retain that talent that you have. We've also seen that when our team members feel valued and they see opportunities for growth, they're more engaged and productive. And so, as most of the companies that are on this call, I'm sure you're tracking your company KPIs, and you can see as turnover fluctuates, you also are seeing impacts to safety KPIs or productivity and efficiency and profitability and all those other key performance indicators that you're tracking. And so we can see a direct correlation into creating this company culture, investing in our employees, them seeing the value and the benefit of that, and then the positive impact that we're seeing on overall results within the company.
Yeah, Stephen, can you tell us a little bit about, when you talked about your general technician trainee program and that it's been several decades, right, at this point, what do you see from your perspective in terms of retention and productivity when you're investing in those types of students?
Yeah, what we see, probably the best thing, first of all, just onboarding new employees there's a cost to that. But probably the biggest bang for our buck is the fact that once we get somebody into our maintenance program, they stay. We have very little turnover, and not only that, I believe it's from I mean, really, I'm a product of that program. I went through it back in 2005, and so 20 years ago, and I've been with this company for almost 25 years. So what I've seen over those years is the fact that if you get somebody in a program like this, you give them, and probably the biggest thing is that you give them confidence, and we instill in them like, hey, we're confident in you, we're willing to invest in you. One of our, and I always say this, like one of our principles, probably one of the best principles, is the fact that we take the success of the individual and the success of the organization. We see it is interdependent on one another. So the more that our employees grow, the organization grows. So once you get somebody in a role like that, we've seen some. Actually, we have our current plant manager also came out of a program, out of this program. So you invest in them, you instill the confidence in them, and they stay.
Yeah. I really appreciate that perspective and the many years that you have to share with us today, right, Stephen? And when we think about that perspective, there may be manufacturers on the call that are looking towards what that may cost. Can you, Leslie, shed some light on how the cost comparison can be from hiring externally versus upskilling internally?
Yeah, absolutely. Hiring externally can be expensive, and it can be risky. So whether you're hiring not internally, but your internal team is doing the recruitment, there's obviously the cost of having to hire externally, to post, to go through a process, assessments, whatever your internal process is, there's cost that goes along with that. In addition to the time that position is vacant and someone else is having to pick up those additional duties. If you hire a recruitment partner to take that on, obviously there's a significant cost that's usually associated with that. And then no guarantee that you're going to find the right person and the right fit. And it's really a gamble. It's not too terribly difficult to look really good on paper and maybe have a really great interview and be able to get your foot through the door, but maybe just culturally you're not the right fit. Maybe you don't have the technical skills that you're presenting, as an external candidate. And so it really is a gamble for a company to hire somebody externally because you just don't know what you're going to get. So that cost, that return on investment for investing in your employees, one, as Stephen was saying earlier, they know your facility, they know your company culture, they know your equipment, your processes, your policies, that you've been able to, however long they've been there, 5 years, 10 years, 2 years, it's been like an interview the entire time. And so you know what you're getting. And so that cost to upskill internally, whether that's partnering with an education partner, or you're training internally through some type of training program, that return on investment is going to pay off in a very, very short time because the learning curve is so much shorter and lower for an internal candidate to take on that role than it is to bring somebody from the outside and you're having to train them everything about the company, about the position, and get them up to speed in a reasonable amount of time that they're able to begin to benefit the company and start to achieve the goals and role of that position. So that return on investment is well worth it when you look at it, especially from a long-term investment standpoint.
Sure. Leslie and Stephen, I know that you work hand in hand with your leadership at your respective manufacturers and your HR. And Stephen, I know that you're incredibly close with Teresa. What would she say, looking at a 30,000-foot view? What is that cost comparison like for Logan Aluminum when you're looking at external versus internal upskilling?
Yeah, and I agree with Leslie. Probably when you can get an employee. Now this is a complete career change for a lot of them, but you have expedited a whole process, right? You've expedited the fact that this person is now already accustomed to some of the. When you think about all the details, some of the systems, some of the computer systems, you've expedited that entire process. So really what we see is that you have pushed that whole training process ahead for literally months. So most new hire employees who are external, they're not productive. I mean, if you want to be honest with, they're not productive for months on end. This incumbent model that we see now, as long as they have the aptitude, as long as they can do the job, we see it. Most of them hit the ground running, and that equals dollars.
Right. That leads me into my next thought here. I appreciate you both sharing on that. When we think about making room without losing margin and the operational strategies that it takes to help these learners without disrupting productivity, Leslie, can you share that balancing act? How does Toyotetsu really look at those strategies without disrupting your bottom line?
Yeah, for us, you know, providing opportunities for growth really aligns with leadership goals and makes life easier from a management perspective. So you get that buy-in from the management team. They understand the short-term and the long-term benefits of conducting that training and upskilling our incumbents. And so we believe that investing in workers supports long-term productivity and the sharing of that institutional knowledge. We see that upskilling as a way to build a pipeline of like-minded individuals who contribute back to the organization in a much faster fashion. So for us, really building in that upskilling into day-to-day operations makes it just a natural part where it's not disrupting productivity, taking away from it. But we understand in the long run, it's going to help us be more productive. And then we're going to see that positive impact again, and not just the productivity, but really all aspects of those key indicators that are important to us as an organization.
Sure. Stephen, you have anything to add to that there?
Yeah, well, just one of the things I wanted to add was once we get, and I've said it before, but once we get people into this incumbent program, they see, I mean, we see it as an investment, they see it as a promotion. And once you get them into that type of program, it's probably, and this is a direct quote from he was actually went through the program years and years ago, maybe even one of the first programs, and has since retired. But the day he retired, he told me, because I was in charge of the program, he shook my hand and he said, that trainee program is not just a good maintenance program. He said, it's the best leadership program that our company has. And so when we think about when leadership gets a hold of the fact that this isn't just another thing, right? It's not another initiative, but it's an investment in our employees. It's an investment into the future. The gains prove themselves, really.
Stephen, I'm actually going to play on that just a little bit. When you talk about, your upskilling program also doubles as an excellent leadership opportunity, can you tell our audience really what that looks like in terms of pay? How do you support these folks that you're upskilling? Can you speak to that?
Sure, that's a great question, because in any time I've ever spoken to our general technician trainee program, everyone asks me that question. So what do you do? Most people think like, hey, what do you do when you're transition a full-time employee into a part-time employee? And my answer is simple: is we don't. We treat them full-time, and we send them to school, and while they're in school full-time, we pay them just like they were here. They get full benefits, they get full pay. And the reason why is because we don't want to penalize somebody for the promotion. We don't want to. We also have to see it as the fact that this is an investment. Now, we may not see the returns today, but we're definitely going to see them in a year. And when you do this year after year, and that's been Logan's history. We've had a program that we have sustained over a 35-year history. We are definitely, and have been for years and years, reaping the benefits from it.
Right. It is this really beautiful snowball effect if you allow the snowball to continue rolling, right? The dividends eventually pay off. I want to really talk about now the mindset on mentorship and how that also can positively enhance an incumbent person's upskilling opportunity. Leslie, can you speak to what Toyotetsu sees in terms of mentorship?
Yeah, mentorship, I think, is such a important and valuable piece to the puzzle when it comes to upskilling incumbents. I think it's important for them to have someone that they trust, that's there to support them, guide them, let them know how it was maybe when they were in their shoes, prior to them growing within the company. It helps build that confidence. It's a really great way to transfer that institutional knowledge and really kind of ease that burden on leadership. I think a lot of times it may be your group leader or somebody in the management level that takes on that role. But by having an actual mentor that's there to support someone as they're going through the training program, really it supports the learners. It makes sure that we're not disrupting, that workflow that's going on in the day-to-day operations. And so for us, just using a FAME example, that mentor piece is really key to our program. We sponsor our AMTs through the 2-year FAME program. And so for us, it's important that they can relate to someone, and then they can feel comfortable, even though they've got a whole network of whether it's the management team or HR or maybe even their cohort that's going through the program. I think there's something about having that mentor there to guide them, to give them advice, to help ease the nerves and concerns that they have. And really having that mentor helps with the overall success of the program, but the individual success, the program success, and ultimately the company's success.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I have seen where a mentorship model, where someone has that go-to person, to help them answer any question that they may have, whether it's around safety or process, that can make a really big difference in terms of someone being retained at a manufacturing facility. Stephen, can you add anything on mentorship there and how you view it?
Sure. I think that really, and we don't necessarily call it an apprenticeship program, but it is an apprenticeship program. And every good apprenticeship program, one of the vital parts of it is a mentorship. And what mentorships, and I've got 2 points, and really what it is, skills and safety. You want to make sure that you're giving this new apprentice the skills that they need to do a job well, but they also need to make sure that they're not putting themselves in danger, and they need to make sure that they're working safe. So that's, even as a FAME chapter president, I make sure that every company that they are maintaining a mentor, and that they're making sure that every student is safe. That's key.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do see that there is a question in the chat, and don't worry, we're going to have time for some Q&A at the end, and I promise that we'll get to your question there. Cross-training and job rotation, Leslie, what does it look like whenever you have an incumbent employee that you are working to upskill? How important is it that they are learning multiple facets in that cross-training facet there?
Yeah, I think cross training is key for 2 reasons. One, business operations. So it allows us that flexibility to move people around as needed, to be efficient because of scheduled vacations or absenteeism or different things like that. So that flexibility and resilience in the workforce is really key to strong business operations. But really the second key area is, again, the investing and showing that we value our team members by wanting to provide them opportunities to learn maybe different areas within their department or different departments within the organization, or even different career paths that are available. I think oftentimes most people think of production or maintenance, but there's so many other career path opportunities, in manufacturing. And so, for us, that cross training piece is a huge part of our Mendomi culture. So Mendomi is a Japanese term for basically treating your employees like family. It's care and concern, showing value, mutual trust and respect. And so that cross training piece is really key to that culture that we're trying to build, to invest in the employees, allow them an opportunity to grow and better provide for their families. And so creating that environment, having that type of opportunity, in addition to building flexibility, is really improving the comfort level and the confident level of the team member, and helping them see that bigger picture, and understanding the role that they play within the company. And really, by cross training and seeing the roles that others play, they see how those pieces fit together, and how and why we're a well-oiled machine.
Gosh, you brought up so many amazing points there. Culture is such an important part to the success of an apprenticeship program, upskilling and incumbent talent. Culture really plays a part in every level of success at a manufacturer. Stephen, I know at Logan Aluminum, you guys have autonomous teams. Can you talk about your culture and how that plays in and winds through cross-training aspects?
Sure. Yeah, and really what she means on autonomous teams. So we have multiple. So the way we're structured is multiple business units under one roof, and every business unit has its own individual maintenance team. And from within that team, our maintenance trainee. So we have multi-craft, multi-skilled employees. So that means that every maintenance person should be able to at least have some understanding of what mechanical, electrical, instrumentation, automation, needs to have some foundation around all of those particular disciplines. So what we do with our trainees is we put them in various shops, and so we set up a rotation so that they're actually touching and learning all of these different disciplines. Now, what we see is that the student will actually gravitate toward their strength. So the way I like to think about it is that when you're building a team, not everybody can be the quarterback, and not everybody can be not everybody can be an offensive lineman. So you build a team based on what their skills and what their strengths are, and that way you can place them and see where they're gonna be the most beneficial. And so that's really the way that we've sort of developed our cross training method around that type of methodology.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that perspective. At this point in the hour, I really want to make sure that we're engaging our audience. And so if you're a manufacturer on the call, I'd love for you to engage with us in the chat really quick. For our manufacturers, what's one strategy your team uses to balance learning and productivity on the job? And if you're not a manufacturer, but you have so graciously joined us today, how are you supporting your manufacturers and recognizing the importance of balancing learning and productivity? Would anyone be brave enough to put a couple answers in the chat there? Again, if you're a manufacturer, what's one strategy your team uses to balance learning and productivity? And if you're a supporting entity on the call, how are you supporting manufacturers in recognizing the importance of balancing learning and productivity? Thank you, Jordan. You put those prompts there in the chat. While we're waiting to see if there's any takers for our questions, I want to, really focus on this idea of culture. One second. Sonia says lunch and learns. That's fabulous. Making training on the job tasks. That's great. Our maintenance team works 4 days per week. Day 5 spent in training. Shout out to CMC, Jason, thank you. Wonderful. Those are some really good options there. Okay, let's transition to culture here. Leslie, how do you foster a workplace that supports continuous development? How does leadership really foster that continuous learning?
Yeah, that continuous learning and is key. And so you can't be successful in that area without at least having the buy-in from the top down. So it's, leadership really plays a key role in modeling the learning mindset and making sure that others on the management team down to floor side group leader levels really understand the importance that continuous learning plays within the companies. And so when leaders invest in development, it really signals the value that we place on it and that it's really part of our culture. It's not a check the box activity, but there's value add to it and the importance of investing in our incumbent workforce. So, by creating a space for learning, that doesn't mean that we're sacrificing productivity. Obviously, we're a business, we have customers that we have to support, we have parts that we have to make. So really, it's important for us to really embed that development into daily operations. And others said it in the chat, building that into your schedule, into your structure, making it just part of what you're doing on a daily basis. And so for us, and I've said it, multiple times, that when our employees are more engaged and they can see that clear path for them to grow, they know that we're investing in them, that we want them to grow with us. And so really not only does that help with retention, but that helps with morale. We spend so much time at work, probably more time at work than maybe at home with family. And so it's one thing to come in and do your job and go home, but you want to feel valued and respected, and you want to enjoy coming to work. And so we feel that culture that we're creating by providing continuous learning opportunities really helps with morale and overall job satisfaction.
Gosh, I don't know about you, Stephen, but I'm inspired, right? Culture is is a big part of the puzzle. Stephen, how does Logan Aluminum foster culture and continuous development simultaneously?
Yeah, I would say so. The culture at Logan. So this isn't the exception. It really is the rule. That progression and growth. It really is the expectation. I mean, so I speak mainly from a maintenance standpoint, from a maintenance training standpoint, but it doesn't stop nor start at maintenance. Logan promotes within at every level. Again, I'm speaking to multiple of our managers here. Our plant manager, all have several of them have started in the operational ranks. So when you think about what that development looks like from our standpoint, it looks like starting as an operator and moving up to plant manager. I mean, it really is the rule and not the exception. So I think if you see, and I've used the word investment already, but if you see that when you are pouring into your employees, it really is an investment, not only in that employee, it's an investment in your organization.
Thank you so much. I know that we could spend another hour talking about culture and how it plays an important part, and it certainly does. I want to make sure that we get to your perspectives on scaling frameworks and success. So, Leslie, can you tell us a little bit about Toyotetsu's journey in starting a FAME chapter and tell us what that looks like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. We were really excited and proud to be a founding member of the very first FAME chapter in Texas. We started in 2016 here in San Antonio. And so for us, we saw the value and the importance of a proven program that's built by employers for employers and led by employers. And so for us, it's not just about participating and being, just a part of a chapter, but really it's about shaping a program that truly meets our needs. And so that means we're not sitting by the sidelines. And I've had colleagues say before, the kind of post and pray approach, we're not waiting for talent to just show up at our door. We have to actively develop and grow our talent from within. That's what we have seen time and time again as a proven model and a strategy. So the structure that the FAME program really allows us to instill the values and the skills that we know are critical for success in manufacturing, and specifically within our company. And then it really fills a critical need within our local region's workforce needs. And so being a part of the process and in the journey from the beginning, and creating a very customized program that meets our needs, allows us to forecast long term and really embed critical components to it is key. And so part of the FAME program is what's called manufacturing core exercises, and there are 5 key areas that are important to the company, important to the growth and development of that individual. And so those core exercises, those concepts are embedded in every aspect, from classroom to the lab to plant side. And so there's being able to be part of a program like FAME that truly meets the needs and is customizable has really been a tremendous journey that specifically helped Toyotetsu in a time when honestly, we were struggling as a company, and it really helped us stabilize and develop our talent, upskill those incumbents, and lead us to where we are today, almost 10 years later, to be the strong, efficient company that we are today.
Thank you, Leslie, for that perspective. I think one of the really unique things about apprenticeships is that it can be for both incumbent talent and external candidates. And you can do that at the exact same time with programs like FAME or a work and learn program. Stephen, can you speak to FAME from your perspective and what it's done at Logan?
Yeah. FAME for us, probably just for me personally, what I've seen in some, and Kelsey, you've known some of our students and how some of them couldn't speak in front of a group, couldn't formulate an email to save their life. What it does is the FAME program, it's based around not just building good foundational maintenance practices and skills, but it's also around building those soft skills. And for people that are in industry, exactly what I'm talking about. You could probably have the best electrician, the best maintenance guy in the world, but you couldn't put him in front of a plant manager or in front of a customer and have him speak. So what I am, and really how it's built up our team is that now you have employees who are not just good maintenance people, but they also have the soft skills to be developed into great leaders. And when you see that, really, I think it's an unstoppable workforce once you start to develop them like that.
Unstoppable. Everybody watch out. Okay. Stephen's unstoppable. I think one of the things that creates a successful work and learn program is really leveraging those community-based organizations and those partnerships. There are so many players that need to come to the table in order to support manufacturers and getting those students from start to finish, or helping your incumbents go back to school from start to finish. Leslie, can you talk about some of those really important partnerships? Maybe that's with a community college or another organization in your area, and how important it was to have those players at the table to help you and to leverage a program like FAME.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had the opportunity to partner with quite a few educational institutions or community-based organizations with our FAME chapter. While our engagement with our four-year institutions and engineering programs may be more limited, we've really found a strong alignment with our local two-year college, Alamo colleges, especially when it comes to short-term training, and skills-based training. Institutions such as Alamo colleges really have that strong commitment to understanding the needs of the manufacturing sector. Our partnership with Alamo colleges is very valuable. They're responsive, they're collaborative, very forward thinking. And it helps us forecast both short and long-term skills needs. And so they're actively listening to our input, our industry's input, specific company input. When it comes to things like making informed decisions, whether that, for example, with FAME and the AMT labs, what type of equipment is coming down the road? What are we seeing of changing automation or robots or that type of thing? And so those relationships with our community partners, in this example, Alamo colleges, really is critical to make sure that we're building the talent that we're going to need, not just for today, but for the future as well.
Absolutely. Stephen, do you want to piggyback on that? What is it like for you as FAME chapter president in your part of Kentucky? How important is it that these entities are helping you help these students?
Yeah, it's super important. We have a great relationship with our two-year college, which is right down the road. We also have really good partnerships with four-year universities that are in close proximity. And for us, not just from a FAME standpoint, but from a four-year standpoint, we've had several of our employees who have taken advantage of our employee assistance programs where they've gotten engineering degrees, or I know several who have gotten their MBAs here, and all paid for by the company, and that it's really been vital to our growth and success.
Right. Absolutely. I want to ask you both your perspective on how has these apprenticeship style programs and looking at culture and upskilling your incumbents, how has that ultimately improved your operations? Can you speak to that a little bit, Leslie?
Yeah, I could talk about that all day. I mean, honestly, but I'm going to give one specific example of something, from a Toyotetsu, global perspective. And so, for us, we've seen measurable improvements in efficiency and quality because of internal development. As I've said earlier today, when we invest in our team members and they see the bigger picture and they understand the why behind their work, and there's that mutual trust and respect that we're developing through training because of the company culture, it helps those team members make better decisions about the day-to-day work that they're doing. And so we very firmly believe that upskilled team members are more productive, they're more engaged, and they're more likely to take ownership of outcomes. And so it is a direct correlation to operational gains. And so the best example I can give to you is in our stamping department. So one of the key performance indicators for our stamping department is what we call gross strokes per minute. So basically, how efficiently is that stamping press operating? How many parts are we putting out to meet the customer's volume needs for that particular run? And so it's something that's tracked across each company globally. And we're a little competitive, about that. And so what we've seen as we have invested in the training and development and that continuous learning of our team members, we can see a clear correlation in that time and that investment where for all of last year, we had the number one gross strokes per minute of all the Toyotetsu locations. And so, that type of efficiency and that type of very clear measurable gain makes it makes a very strong case, for upskilling and incumbents and the investments that we're making. And so, for us being the number one GSPH company in all of Toyotetsu for as long as we have been, those are our bragging rights, which goes back to the morale and job satisfaction and creating that culture. So that's just one example of many ways that we see that operational gain.
Absolutely. That's a true testament to your many years of advocating for work and learn and upskilling. Thank you for sharing that, Leslie. Stephen, we've got a couple more minutes here, and I want to make sure that we have some time for questions. Can you bring us home? Can you give us an example of how you've seen upskilling be a positive outcome for someone that you've worked closely with at Logan?
Yeah, we actually several years ago had an employee who had actually been incarcerated at one time, and he was able to get into and it had been several years ago, and then he was able to join our team here at Logan, and then get into this trainee program, and he has built such a tremendous life for himself. I mean, it's probably one of the best success stories. I wish I could had time to share all of the successes, but we just see this kind of play out over and over again. It really does somewhat change the family tree, so to speak, where people are maybe in bad situations who make the best of it. And I think these types of promotions, and I said it before, but I'll say it again. When you give somebody, when you instill into somebody and say, "I'm confident in you. I'm going to put because you have earned this opportunity, because we see something in you, we see something valuable in you, and we're going to invest in you." And you give somebody that type of confidence. We have seen it pay dividends time and time again.
Absolutely. Awesome. We've got time for one question, and so this can go to either one of you. So the first one to raise your hand gets the question. Are you ready? All right. From the chat, what percentage of your workforce are typically participating in the Incumbent program, and how long are they in one of the work and learn programs?
Well, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Leslie.
Yeah, I was going to say that the simple answer is we have 100% of our incumbents going through some type of training, right? Whether that is our own internal, what we call our work-life plan, which lays out training for each level within the organization, whether that's just to strengthen their skills in their current position, whether that's to grow them for the next step in the leadership ladder. We also have individuals that are going through different levels of what we call fundamental skills. So for our maintenance department, we have 3 levels. And so there's all of our maintenance team is going through some level of that training, and that training could take maybe a year to get through the blue level of training. And then you have a much more specific type of training, which is FAME. And for that, there's a smaller number that is going through. But we always, whether it's partnering with Alamo colleges on an opportunity to get a grant and to upskill a particular department or a particular area. So we have a lot going on all the time. So the simple answer for us is there's everybody's going through some level of training at all times.
Thank you so much, Leslie. I hate that we are out of time. I could spend another hour, asking you about your expertise and how you are making internal upskilling work for you. So first and foremost, on behalf of the Manufacturing Institute, thank you for joining us today and sharing your expertise. I have just a couple of things left. If you'll hang on with me for the next 60 seconds. These solution series are virtual for all of the months except October. We hope that you will join us in Charlotte, North Carolina, October 20th or the 22nd. This is where we bring all of these experts together in one room to talk about these solutions. And so we have a jam-packed agenda. I would love for you to scan this QR code here to learn more about our Workforce Summit. We'll be talking about upskilling, retention, recruitment, and all of the things that manufacturers are telling us that they need to be successful. Also, if you would mark your calendars for November 5th, that is our next virtual Solution Series event. This one will be in partnership with our Heroes Make America team, and it will be visible skills, bridging military experience into manufacturing careers, really understanding what digital credentialing looks like for our service members and how we can leverage that into specific manufacturing careers. And with that, it is the next hour on the dot. I thank you so much for joining us today, and you will get this recording link. Thank you so much.
Thank